This is the Dallas Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, and if you haven't already, make sure you also subscribe to us on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. That way you can get every pick that happens in the 2022 NFL Draft, which could end up being a wild one. And maybe it includes the Cowboys wheeling and dealing. Jerry Jones, as part of his press conference at his really weird blockchain.com thing, which we'll get to later on here, Jerry says, he wants to trade up in the draft. Now, he mentioned both day one and day two. I will make note, and this is important, I believe, the Cowboys have not traded up in the first round since Morris Claiborne, despite what Jerry said. So allow me to break down the actual quote here from Jerry. Quote, "I would trade up in this draft. Just going in as much as you can say about it until you see what's there and who's on the other end of the line. Yeah, I would trade up. Since we're down as low as we are in those first 2 or 3 rounds, if we had a chance to, and somebody we really coveted was sitting at the bottom, like Frederick, we'd trade up and get him." Well, here's the problem. The Cowboys didn't trade up for Travis Frederick. That is not what happened. And I don't think that Frederick was a super high grade on their board because they traded down and took a player who most thought was more of a third-round pick. Of course, in the end, the Cowboys were right. So I am normally fluent in Jerry speak. I don't know what he means here. Did he just try to mention a great player and use that as evidence to trade up? Or did he actually mean trade up down the board? Is it like the upside down where he means the opposite? I don't know. I think he means maybe more likely trading up in round 2 or round 3 as opposed to trading up in round 1. I'll spend some more time on that here in a moment. But the Cowboys have the ammo, especially on day 2 or day 3. If there's somebody that they see sliding in the back end of round 2, back end of round 3, back end of round 4, they can jump up and get a player who is an outlier on their board relative to everybody else. So the ammo is there. We'll run through some examples of what types of different trades the Cowboys could make. But first, what did Jerry mean? Because his quote is nonsensical, kind of like circumcising the mosquito a little bit. What did Jerry mean? That's a real Jerry quote, by the way, Chugs. Don't laugh. Type U for he meant trade up and he wants to get higher in the draft. D for trade down like he did with Travis Frederick. Or G for it's Jerry gibberish in the end. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get that ad break here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and try to tell me what you think Jerry meant. Now, I'll let you guys in on the draft secret here. Maybe not secret, just it's a thing. Teams will work out a lot of these trades and the parameters of them before the drafts. They won't pick up the phone and try to work everything out. If there's a player the Cowboys have in mind that if they start to see slide, they might have a deal worked out with a team earlier on and say, this is the parameters. If this guy is there, we want to move up. And if the guys you want aren't there, or there's a lot of guys you want there, you could move down. So they'll work that out in advance and have those parameters kind of set up. So when it comes to trades, 3 of them to keep an eye out for, and we'll do a whole video on this later on, so make sure you guys are subscribed. If you want to move up in round 1 and keep your second-round pick, these are all based on the trade value chart, how the value works, plus or minus some stuff, weird years, sometimes it's a little bit more, a little bit less. This is the rough estimation. First and a third gets you to about pick number 18. First and a second gets you inside the top 14 or so. If you want to move down, despite what you might get offered by some of the draft sims out there, this is a little bit more in line with the value. Chiefs jump up, you slide back, and you pick up a late third. Depending on how the board falls, that might be the ideal outcome for you if a bunch of your receivers and guards are there. They might not be there in the end. What you could also do is get aggressive and move up in the second round, which I think might be a very real outcome for this organization, in large part because the way the board, I think, will fall, early run on receivers, and you might want to jump ahead of other teams like the Colts, like the Falcons, like the Browns, to go get a Pickens, a Sky Moore, a Mechie, someone who's sliding down a little bit. Second and a third gets you just outside the top 40. That's a lot, and this is why, in general, I like trading down a lot more than I do trading up. Now, how many NFL draft trades do you think the Cowboys will make? I had said I doubt they keep all of their picks last year, and they didn't. They added more picks, so I was partially right, but also not on that standpoint. So let me know, how many draft trades will the Cowboys make this year, not including previous ones already made? Now, we'll be live for the entirety of the 2022 NFL Draft. Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, all 7 rounds, every pick broken down. I'll be anchoring the coverage on the Chat Sports YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, go subscribe. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Coming up next, we'll get into the Dez Bryant reunion idea, hope for some of you. Maybe delusion mixed in there. So we'll break it all down, what's going on. But first, I wanted to mention a potential trade target as part of the whole Jerry wants to move up situation. Louis Riddick, the ESPN analyst, mentioned Evan Neal as a trade-up target for the Cowboys. And I would love to add Evan Neal. He was not a 30 visit for the Cowboys because he's not going to be there at pick 24. But if you want to start wheeling and dealing to go get your left guard for now and your left tackle of the future, Evan Neal is maybe the dream pick for the Cowboys. Really great production, great play at Alabama, good run stopper. He's played all over the line. You give him a year or two at the same spot, that consistency is going to mean a lot for him. And people his size are not supposed to move the way that he does. He is a top 5 player in this year's class. What you would be able to do is plug Evan Neal day 1 in at left guard. That takes care of your short-term need there. And long-term, now you've got your left tackle of the future. And when Tyron Smith gets hurt again, you could even kick Evan Neal out there on the left side. So, look, I love the idea. Here's the problem. You have to move way, way, way up to pull this off. The cost of getting Evan Neal, even if he slides a little bit, it's tough to foresee. So let's play through a scenario where Jags take Aiden Hutchinson, Lions take, let's say, Trayvon Walker. Texans go edge, Kayvon Thibodeau. Jets say, we don't want to tackle. We'll take Sauce Gardner. Giants take Ika Mikwanu, right? Panthers then say, you know what? We're going to take a QB, Pickett or Willis. Giants go, let's get Kyle Hamilton. The Falcons then are on the board at number 8. They don't need to tackle, and their team sucks. But the Seahawks and Jets, I can't see Evan Neal getting past 9 in really almost any scenario. And I think it's a bit unlikely he makes it down to 9 anyway. But we'll play through the scenario here. Maybe this is around the range where a team wants to trade up for Evan Neal to jump the Jets who could take him, jump teams like picking at number 11. The Commanders probably not, but the Vikings 12, Texans at 13, Ravens, Eagles. You'd probably want to get up to around this range, right? Here's the cost, and because it's such an expensive jump, there's a lot of different routes you could go. Like you could go a second, a third, and a fourth, or plus your first. Like there's a lot of different packages here. This is probably around what it would be in value-wise. Cowboys aren't giving up quite enough in this scenario. So it gets you Evan Neal, but it costs you your first-round pick this year, your first-round pick next year, your third-round pick, and that's if the Falcons say, yeah, we'll take a little bit less. And if you're Atlanta, you could use the Cowboys as leverage to, say, the Seahawks, get them to come up one spot to secure their guy. So I love the idea of Evan Neal. I just think it's not that likely. I think if a guy like Charles Cross, who the Cowboys brought in for a pre-draft visit, if he begins to slide, well, that could make sense for the Cowboys to jump up into the mid to late teens at that point. A bit more plausible, I think. So name a player in the comment section who you guys want to trade for. Sound off right now. Oh, let's talk Dez. I can't. It's 2022 and we're still doing this, right? Background here is that Dez Bryant has been training again after not playing at all last year. And his highlights, as they always do, it's why he posts them, got the social media going, right? Of like, oh, I saw other people like, Dez can still be a red zone threat. Can he, though? I get that Dez is making great catches. As producer Jeremy has informed me, because he knows the quarterback Dez has been training with, or at least on the highlight he was, These are high schoolers, guys. That's who Dez is beating on routes. Like, yeah, he looks great. High schoolers. He ain't going up against Jalen Ramsey out there. And I will forever love Dez. I don't want to make this an anti-Dez campaign or whatever, but we're talking about a player with 6 games and 6 catches in 4 years. That's not appealing. Now, I do think a better red zone threat could actually help the Cowboys. I like CeeDee Lamb. Gallup might miss some games, or maybe some is an understatement, but he's going to miss some time, I believe. James Washington is on a cheap 1-year deal. He's on a long-term piece. So you can talk yourself in to adding Dez and saying, this is our red zone guy. And I got more thoughts on why, to be blunt, I don't really think this is a likely or great idea for the Cowboys, beyond Dez retiring as the Cowboy, which should absolutely happen. But I want to hear from you guys. Would you go out and would you sign Dez Bryant? Can't believe we're doing it once again. Sound off for me in the comments section. Why for yes, you would go out and get Dez, and for no, you would not. I do regret to inform everyone, which shouldn't be news, but here we are. Dez ain't what he was. He's just not. He's not the guy he was at his prime, where he was a top 5 or so receiver in the NFL, a monster after the catch, red zone guy. The decline has set in. He made it back to the NFL. That was awesome. But he's barely played in 4 years. That guy isn't someone you really want. I would spend draft picks on the wide receiver spot more than anything else. And you might say, well, what if he's your receiver 5? Cool. He can be a red zone guy. Here's the problem. Those back end of the roster receivers, they need to be special teams guys. I need them on coverages, on gunners, on blocking. It's not Dez's game. You're not going to make him your return man at age 33, 34 this year, I believe. So the NFL is ageist in the end. And older guys like Dez, you've seen with Adrian Peterson to an extent, they just kind of get forced out as they get older because their skill set does not suit a backup position, unfortunately. Now, if you want daily Dallas Cowboys videos, subscribe to us here at the Cowboys Report. We are almost to 127,000 subscribers. I want to double up the Commanders by the end of the draft. We'll see if it happens or not. Hit that big red button and subscribe right now. Some news for you guys as well. Hunter Niswander has been cut by the Dallas Cowboys today. Shouldn't be a huge surprise. Niswander, who missed most of last year with injury and was away from the team, he was never going to beat out Brian Anger as a punter. So it certainly makes sense for the Cowboys to let him go try to find a different destination, and they'll be looking at a kicker via draft or undrafted free agency as well. So unfortunately, you can spam it in the comments section as well. Hunter Niswander is now the latest Cowboys legend who is no more with the organization. I did want to spend briefly the Cowboys' big major business announcement. Blockchain.com is the cryptocurrency platform sponsor. This was teased as major business news. If you follow me on Twitter, I tried to warn you guys, hey, it's business. There's nothing that's actually of value that's going to come out here, and that was exactly what ended up happening. Never expect actual news from the, hey, press conference coming up in 2 days. It's not how it works. Every time they do this, it's always a sponsor. I'm actually glad the Cowboys slapped business on there. If you're expecting curtains to block out the sun, you were always going to be disappointed there. That's not how the real football-relevant news goes down in Dallas.